So Banner communication, a tool incorporated into Banner that handles all your communications. Now, you can send letters out through Banner directly, but this tool allows you to do this digitally. You can print out letters, and then there's a text option for SMS. So, people can actually get text along the way, and I believe that part is not set up. You do share BCM with Fort Collins, so you will see a specific naming convention for Pueblo. And that everything starts with CSUP for Pueblo. So just know if you see other items there that say CSU, that's for Fort Collins. So I'm going to quickly just walk through these, and then Jay, I'll let you elaborate on the queries and the population ones, and then we'll just take it from there. We'll actually build a message. So let's start from the bottom. The number one thing here is the system functions. Some of you may have access to these, some of you may not. But just know this is the full structure of this. Each area at Pueblo was assigned an organization. So it's kind of like a large file. If like a giant file cabinet is really what this is. So the organization is outlined here. Extended studies is CSUP_extended studies. But all the other ones here are mapped out for this. So that's the primary area to make sure that everything that will run through CSU will actually be organized through CSU. And then the emails on who's going to send them, who's going to receive them. When the students receive them, or faculty or whomever, they get where it came from. That's where the system function is. The log down here at the bottom logs any or all communications. And there's been quite a few, and that's why this is continuing to process. But if you ever need to look up a specific log, if you have a banner ID for a student, or you want to do a specific date range, you can actually look up logs just to make sure that communications went through. Those are the two bottom ones. Then these are pretty much the most common. The folder one over here, again, these are the folders. And CSUP, Extended Studies, you have your own folder, which is part of your organization. So that's where all your communications are housed. And then on these, you have the queries, populations, and overall communications in the templates. Now, how this works is you create a specific, you can actually create a template first, and I'm going to do this really quick, and then we're going to build something. You create a template. So you come in here and you click add, and I'll just use something that is here for right now. I'll open it. You create something, you define it, right? You give it a name, a description, what folder it's going to be sitting in, what type of communication it is, who created it, and it'll always show up. And down here at the bottom where it says, would you like to share this template? If you say yes, anyone in your department can view it. If you said no, you as the creator would be the only one that could see that template. So this is probably the most critical question in BCM is, do you want to share your templates or not? Meaning, do you want to share your communication? And then you could decide if the status is active or inactive. So that's that part. Once you have all that, then you can create your communication. And you can add logos. You can highlight. I mean, really, what you're looking at is Microsoft Word. And then you could put in the text for your message. And that's, this looks like your standard kind of email that you would get from any college. And then you could highlight it. If you wanted to change or edit it, all the buttons are up here. And then you could, when you're all ready to go, you would save it and get ready to send it. But before you send it, you have to go through some basics setup now. You create your template, you determine what you need. Maybe if you wanted to add different kinds of parameters to it, you can do that. So I'll just click edit real quick, and data fields. So, data fields are pretty much the standard. And again, they are organized. So if you wanted to have a specific email go out, if you wanted to have, a student's name, a certain kind of registration type, so on and so forth. As you can see, a lot of these have been created already, but I'll just click on general, and a data field is really, what's going to pull from Banner. So if you had an address of a student, a zip code, so on and so forth, a current date, here's the Banner ID. Do you want a first name? Do you want a last name? Do you want a salutation? Anything you want. You want prefixes, a preferred email, a preferred first name. It's really up to you. And that, if you click to choose that, it shows up down here. And here's this one. It's the preferred first name and last name. So it's going to pull the information for the student out of Banner and put it into BCM to get ready to send a message. And that's what the data fields are for. The parameters are associated with data fields, goes into a little more detail, but those are, thanks to pretty much Jay's wonderful knowledge, a lot of those are incorporated into the data fields. So you shouldn't have to use these, but we will come back to those when we start building. So you build your template. You think about what is the content, what is the wording you want to put in your message. Once you have that, then you can work with someone on campus or, for the query. And here are the query areas. And Jay, which one should I choose? Just to quickly, let's review real quick.
Sorry, I was muted.
That's okay.
Any of the CSUP ones should work.
Okay.
I didn't create these ones at the front here, but
okay. So this is a perfect time to show you. So if you don't see what you're looking for, you go over here to the search, and I'm just going to type CSUP. Okay, a bunch of things came up. I'm going to do underscore, and I'm going to do E. There we go. Extended studies, ES. So I'm just going to click on one of these, and I'm going to open it. And here's a query that was written and about online students. So Jay, why don't you just quickly explain the whole purpose of the query?
Do you mean this query or queries in general?
Yeah, in general, but I just pulled one up.
Right. All right. So the basic idea behind a query is it is a way of getting, in this case, people out, or PIDMs in general, out of Banner in some format, whatever format you want that to be, or whatever grouping you want it to be. That's what we can make it. So as long as we can write an SQL code about it, which is what this is, we can grab the data. This one in particular is getting students who are enrolled in the PTRM term E4A at the bottom. So this is one of the ones that I built for this training. That's pretty much it. I mean, basically a query is the rules for getting the population that you want.
Right. Great. Thanks, Jay.
Online team, all of these, so Jay built specific ones for every part of term in online. And so this one is the first summer term. And so if we're trying to target students in that particular part of term, this is the group of students we target for it. So when we send out messages, we could do it by part of term. So then they're specific to drop dates, withdraw dates, those sorts of things.
Great. Thanks, Catherine. So when it's all done, you can test it out. And then when it's ready to go, you hit generate population. And then that takes us to the population group. And here are some populations. So again, I'm going to view all. There we go. So I'm going to hit again, CSUP underscore E. And we get a bunch of extended studies. Again, I'm just going to open this real quick. And this is a population that was created. And it just outlines the basic information of the actual query. Now, there are two ways here to do this. You can create a query. You could put a population in a query and create your own population to pull from Banner, and then have it automatically generate when you want it, or you can manually update. And this is where when I was in the registrar office, I lived here. That way I always had, I pulled out all the Banner IDs that I needed for a certain population that I wanted to send a communication, and I uploaded the file. So you save them in Excel CSV, and then you can just upload and then send them directly with your communication. So that way, if you don't have a query written or a pop cell written, and if you need to get something out ASAP, the fastest way to do this is by uploading your own file. And we'll come back to that. But then you have your population, right? Queries done, population's done. Go ahead.
One thing, it's worth mentioning that you can actually do both. So you can have a query and a manual population.
Oh, good point.
And the manual population will always be there, and then the query will just update as it goes. So therefore, if you wanted to always make sure you got every message sent from this population, you could manually add yourself to it, and then also have the students up, or the query then update to people. And so every time, if you ran this, 10 every day, you would be in there every day, and then whatever students fit the rules, or people fit the rules, would be in there every day.
Yeah, great point. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, Jay's absolutely right. So you have a population that you're using all the time, but there might be some additional people that may not be on it. You can manually upload the file and have both of them. Great. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome. As a matter of fact,
go ahead.
Right now, there are some issues that we're having with BCM, which we think are endemic to the system. And one of the things we're suggesting is to, for every population, is to have somebody manually in it to make sure that it always has a person. So if you create a recurring communication, hopefully we think that will stop them from crashing, which they've done, or just they don't run every day and they stop working. So that's one of our things that we're trying to figure out.
We'll get back to the current issues right now. And this has to do with the ongoing development between Fort Collins and Pueblo as they're moving forward.
Yep.
So when it's all done, then we go to communication. You're ready to send your job. So you can create a one-time only, and it would, you just create your message, and I'll click create, and you give it a name. You choose your organization, your population name, your template name, and then you could send it now, or you could send it as a one-time thing. The other way you could do it is by recurrent messages, where you can actually, I'll just click on one, I'll open it, and you can set them up to run, at a certain time, certain days of the week, if you want, for a certain time range. And then it will constantly pull every single day or day of the week or time of year that you want them to go, and then stop at your end date. So on this one, it says the end date is June 17th, 2022. So this one runs on a regular basis now from accounts receivable going till June 17th of this year. So you have the option to do a one-time thing or schedule them to run regularly. That's when you send a job. So then the communication runs, and then the people on the front end, or the people who get, the people at the front desk, or the people who get the phone calls from students, and a student calls and says, I got this message and I really don't understand it. I need to talk to someone. And you might be that person. And the last piece of this puzzle is the interactions. So if I click here, and I need an ID. So Jay, do you have an ID? Let me see if I can find one, the name. What's a common name? Catherine, what's a common name?
A common name for like a student?
Yeah, what's a common name?
I can give you an idea. I have one right here.
Oh, perfect. Go ahead.
836-127-748.
Okay, let's see if anything comes up. Yep. So this person already got a message. So this is Doreen then, right? Okay, so you can type in a name, You could do a first name, a last name, a first name and the last name, so on and so forth. But it comes up much quicker if you have a banner ID, just so you know. So I'm going to click on that name. There's her message. I'm going to click on the message, and I'm going, let's do a little scenario here. You get a phone call from Doreen, and she has a question about an email that she just received, and she wants to talk to someone, and you're the person that she's going to speak to. You would come into BCM, go into the interactions module, get her ID from her, what just happened. Then you would find the one, if she had several of them, you could ask her the name of it, and then you click on that and open it, and you are going to see the full communication that she received. You're going to see when it went out, what type of communication it was, what the subject line was, and then the full message. And on this one, this was about TEP registration. So she might have a question about her registration. And this is the full communication. So she's on wherever she is, she has it on her phone, computer, or mobile device, and you have it right in front of her, and you two can communicate about the same thing at the same time. And this is a really wonderful tool when it comes to BCM for this.
How can we resend that message if they said, we know they got it, but 9 times out of 10, they didn't check their spam or junk mail? How do you resend it? Do you resend it from here?
That's a really good question. I used to actually take the person's name, so I would take that template. If there was only one or two, if there was 1 or 2 people that said they never resent it, you can't resend from here. So I would, write down the person's ID, banner ID, and I take down the communication name, because here's the name. And then I would actually go back to templates, pull it up, and then run it again. And then in the population, I would actually add a population and actually send it through the just as a one-time on an Excel file. There's really no way to resend in here because it's done through bulk. You would have to do it by pulling up the template and then rerunning the job with the attached, putting the student ID in a CSV Excel file, and then running the communication again.
Can you,
or if you,
copy paste?
or I'm sorry?
Can you copy paste?
Yes. Or if you really wanted to, I've done this too in a quick hurry. I would go into interaction, and pull up the person and then literally copy the message and paste it in an email. Yes, you could do that too. It's up to you, whatever you want to do the fastest.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, it's good to keep, if you need a record of them, it's good to keep them in here, but I totally get it. And I did that copy and paste also. So that's the whole piece of this. Now those are all the components of this. So now I'm going to stop sharing. And let's talk about building a communication for your department. So do we have a message that you'd like to create today? Or I guess, I should say, right, Jay and Catherine. Catherine sent us some suggestions and Jay wrote some queries. So maybe Jay, the topics of the queries, maybe we should start with that.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a specific message we want drafted. I mean, if you want to just go through like drafting a test message, just
Okay.
like, this is a test, and then throw in some data fields and just kind of show what that looks like from start to finish.
Okay.
That might be helpful. But
Okay,
we
well,
don't, I don't,
Go
what's
ahead.
that? Oh,
No,
I
go
see.
ahead.
We don't really have any messages at the moment. I think we're ready to send out. This is just kind of teaching us where things
Okay.
are and what to do next.
Sounds good. Okay, so then let's have one of you open up BCM and let's build something. And Jay, what are the queries that you built for them from Catherine's list?
Hold on a second. Let me.
Yeah.
I keep
So who
covering
would
up.
like to build a message? It's really not that hard. It's really easy. Oh, it has to be someone. Joni, you want to do one? Jason, you want to do one?
I'll do one. I'll raise the
There we
hand.
go. There we go. Thanks, Jason. Okay. So, yeah, you're going to open up BCM.
All right.
Now you know how to get to it, right? I did not go through that. I'm assuming that you've probably been there, but if you want me to, I can walk through that.
Yeah, here.
Perfect.
All right. So templates.
Yep, we're going to go to template, and we are going to click. We're on the top over to the right. You see where it says add.
Yep.
Okay, you're going to click add. Okay, we're going to give it a name. So let's hold on a second. So Jay, what are the various queries you built? So we're gonna,
Okay, so I built a bunch of them for the active online students, like the one I showed for different part of terms. And then there's also active, I think it's active online students with the part term. I'll have to look at that one again. And then open learning students for both yearly and weekly. Do any of them sound interesting, Jason?
Yeah, sure.
which one do you want, Jason?
The last one he just said.
Then we can do it for open learning students who their classes run yearly. We can do that one, which is the I think the,
Okay, so it's going to be, so we're doing open learning students who have classes run yearly, you said?
yeah. I think it's scheduled yearly. I forget exactly.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, so there's the name. Great. So we have a name, and then you just want to give a description, and the description is really, a week from now when you can't remember what you did last week kind of thing, and you need to look it up or someone else needs to look it up 6 months from now, just a brief description of what it is.
The message to students. I don't know what Jay had said about that form, but MS to students.
In open learning courses, you can say that.
There we go.
Okay. Now for folder, click on the folder, and you're going to look for extended studies. There you go. And then the communication code, this is a template. That's just, it comes up automatically. So for right now, I would leave this, but the more you do this, you can create your own custom templates. So that way you don't have to, there are an enormous amount of them here. These are all defaulted from various schools that have used this over several years, but usually I just leave it here unless you start customizing certain templates for certain times a year, certain programs, and so on and so forth. Then you have an option to, email, letter. The SMS and the mobile notification is not set up as far as I know right now. So we're going to keep this email for right now. And then the valid date as of today. And then if you put an end date, that means that this template is only good for a certain time to use. If you don't put an end date, it's open forever kind of thing. So that's up to you if you want to put an end date or not. And then would you like to share this template? The answer should be yes.
So if we put an end date and it ends, is it still shareable?
No.
Okay.
No, because you have to go back into it. You as the creator of this would have to go back in and adjust the date or delete the end date, the valid date to have it active again.
Gotcha.
Okay. Okay. So then you're going to save this. Okay. So there we are. There's your overview. Everything that you just did is right there. So now you're going to click on the next tab, right? Email content. And it's a blank screen right now. So at the top right, you're going to click edit. And we don't have a 2 yet, but the subject line, you could use the same, if you want the same name or whatever you want. Okay. And then here's your message. So, it's a blank piece of paper. What would you like to put in it?
Well, I guess how do you put in the template where it has the header of like our division name?
Right. So there's two ways of doing this. There is if you see the little picture of the little picture of the image, look right there, go down a little.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. So most of your images are on the Pueblo website, and the marketing department had a list of I guess URLs for all of them. So you can add the URL that way. You can't just copy and paste them in because this is all digital. You need a digital logo. And Catherine, those were created for you a while back, right? So I don't know if you have a list of all the URL addresses for your logos.
Yeah, I don't know where those are kept, and Keelan, who built them, no longer works for us. So I'm making a note to talk to our new creative director about it.
Okay, all right, yeah, because you should that list is housed someplace from the marketing area, so you should be able to get that without a problem. So we don't have one here for this one. So why don't you can just put logo, I guess, for right now. And then I'll show you, cancel this and just type the word logo and we'll come back to this. Yeah. Okay. And then, what do you want to say?
So hi, and then he said we can insert a data field.
Yep. Yep. So the one that says general, CM, by the way, is a banner default, stands for communication management. And these are defaulted data fields already built in, so no one has to think about them. So whenever you see CM, it means they're already built into the system. Right, so you click on one, hit insert. There you go. And then if you want first name and last name, you just put a little space, and then you could click on the net if you want to, and then go get the right, exactly. Okay. And then a comma if you want at the end. Okay. And then you put your message.
Cool.
Okay. And then, from here, this is where, for those of you who know some HTML coding, or, any additional scripting, you have the option to make these as sophisticated as you want. You could keep them very simple, right? The more simple, they're easier. They come up faster on a mobile device if they're looking at their email. But, you can also add GIFs to these, any kind of animation if you want, depending on how creative you want to get. And that is pretty much all built into this, but you need to have some HTML coding behind it. So for right now, this is very simple. However, if you just click on that top left corner where it says source, see that button that says source? Right. There's your HTML. Every time you're writing, it's actually going to create a URL coding for you. So if you do know HTML, you could actually write up the whole thing HTML and copy and paste it in it with the images. As long as those images have URL address links themselves, you can actually put things here. You can also embed YouTube videos here, or TikTok information, or Spotify, you name it. This is all, web ready when it comes to that information. Just know that the more you add, the longer it takes to process, especially if you're sending a message to, 2,000-3,000 people at the same time. So just that's the only other thing about this. You could be very simple or as sophisticated as you want. Okay. Do you want to put your name or you just have contact? So, okay, we need some contact information then. You know, how does someone contact Joni? So do you want to put an email address? Do you want to put a phone number?
Yeah. And then do we go back up here and it should be?
Well, you're gonna type in her email address first. Okay, now highlight that email address. Okay, now we want to link it. So you're almost directly above it, you see, right. And now you want, it's okay, the link type is going to be email. So see where it says URL? I'm going to click on that and go email and then put her email address. You can just paste it if you want to, copy and paste or type it. It's okay. And then the message title. Now, you know, if someone's going to, you know, if a student's going to email her, what message do you want, you know, would she recognize that this was coming from a student on a topic of open learning? Okay. And then if you wanted to, you could predetermine a piece of a message at the bottom. You know, you've seen them, right? When you want to respond to something, it says enter your message here, or it already has a predetermined text already written in. This is where you would do that. Perfect. Okay, and you hit okay. And then click out, and there you go. So that's it. that's how you do the whole message. So then if you scroll down and hit save, there's your message. All right. So then just at the top right, you can just click that number 1. Above, but next to your name, Jason Engel. Oh, see where it says number 1 says saved successfully? Right. Banner always lets you know up there if something was saved successfully or not. Okay. So now we need to click the edit button. And now we need to have the 2 go out. And Jay, I'll let you talk about the 2 here and how to process this.
Well, basically the 2 is whatever's in the 2 is where address it's going to go to. So if you just type in an email address or a string of email addresses, then every version of this email will go out to them. That's one way you can test it. If you want, we could put your name in here. And then if we sent an email out using this, then you would get all 88 emails with the other people's first and last names in there. What we would normally do is put a data field in there. I think we have one I forget what it's called. Email hierarchy, I think it is. And that one will then grab the student's email address and put it in there. So that's what you want to do when you actually put one of these live, is have a data field that will grab their email address and then use that to send them out. Yeah, that's basically it. I think it's called hierarchy. Is that right? I forget now.
Yes, it's called hierarchy.
Yeah.
Right. So you want to enter that. And Jay, I just sent you a message.
Yeah. Oh, sure. All right. So Linda's got to step away, I think. Right. So if you want to send us, I guess right now, just type in like your email address, and we'll try to find a population that doesn't have a ton of people in it. And then if you hit, make sure I know where we're going. Okay. So now when you're done with it, is it at the bottom? You have to hit save. I think it's at the bottom of the screen. So if you save it, then the whole thing will be saved and it'll be ready for us to go. One thing that we always point out is at the top, I think it's right now underneath the little save successful message. See the 3 dots on the top right there? If you click that, it gives you a test email. So if you click the test email thing, then you just pick your organization first I don't know if she went over organizations, but this is where it sets up what mail server you're going to use, but also who the mail is sent from and who the mail is the reply to addresses. So it's important to make sure you get that to the group that you want. And then if you just put in any ID of a person who is going to have who's in the system, so any legit ID. Yeah, you probably want to without the C, because that's extra. Then you just got to kind of wait till it comes up. Sometimes I think you have to hit enter after you type in an ID. I wish it was clearer what happens here, but there it is. So now if you hit send, it should send you an email. And it should have your name as the first name and the first last name in there. So that's the way you can test it. I do believe with that one, you still want to make sure that the to address is correct so that it does not send it to that person. There you go. That was fast too. All right, so if you think this is good and you want to go ahead with it, we can hit the publish. All right, so now that it's ready to go, we can send messages out through using the population and the query if we want. So if you hit here, from here, you can hit create message, which is right in the middle of your screen. Now, like everything else, first you have to pick a name for it. And this name does need to be unique. So you might want, this is not anything, something anybody's going to see. So you want to start this one with CSUP again, just to make sure it's a little bit easier to find. And I don't think you can put spaces, but let's find out. I keep wanting to check that out.
Seems like it did.
Yeah. Well, I see when they save it, we'll see what it does, but it's not a big deal. Yep. Okay, so now for population, if you click in there, then it's going to do a search. For some reason, it only lists 2. But if you type in the CSUP ES, make sure I got the right one. And underscore IS, and then underscore open, you should get. There it is. Nope. Oh yeah, the weekly one's not working right now. And then you want to, the template is already there, the open learning student messages. So now you have options down here when you schedule it. So you can have, clearly right now you can just do a send now. If you click on so if you do that and you hit save, it'll just send out the message. If you can click that one. So the scheduling, you can schedule to run sometime in the future. So you want it to run tomorrow morning, not now. So you set it to run in the morning the next day. And if you click recurring, we can go into that for a little bit. So recurring is how you're going to get it. So it's going to, you want to send it periodically. So you want to make sure you set up the rules for that. With this one, you're going to pick which day you want it to start, whenever that is. And then on the right up here, you can see where it says end date and number of occurrences. In that little top box, up there. So you have to decide when is it going to stop. Is it going to stop on a specific date or stop after a certain number of times? Right. So you can say, stop it then, or you can have it run 10 times, whatever you want it to do. And then the next part is when you would pick how frequent you want it to run, between daily, weekly, and monthly. And then again, it's straightforward once you start playing with this stuff. It's going to run every 6 days, starting on at whatever time you want. Or you can have it run just on the weekdays. And so you can play around with this of how you want it to run. But what it'll eventually do is it'll schedule one, and then it'll just schedule the next one as it goes through. So, I mean, I probably don't pick I say, let's go back to do a one-time send of this, because we don't want to send it now. I guess the question is now, do you want to send this? Because if you send it right now, you will get 88 emails. If you want to get 88 emails, we can send this. If you don't want it. So yeah, and that's pretty much all you have to do. And then I think at the bottom, there should be a send. So if you do this, then tomorrow you'll get 88 messages. So the good part is it does warn you to say, hey, you sure you want to send this out? Because it's going out to 88 people. or well, it's not, again, I said 88 people. It's going to go out to you because we have your email address hard coded in there. So you will get 88 emails with all their information in it. So you'll get them with all the different first names.
All right.
Right? And that's pretty much it. I mean, assuming we had sent this message after that, then you could go into the other part, the interactions, and you would be able to see that those messages were sent. And that's pretty much it. At that point, you should be ready to go and create your messages. I mean, I think that for me, once you get into this, the hardest part is going to be what messages are you putting into your, like writing the messages almost seems harder than setting up the actual communications once you do it. You've done it a bunch of times. All right, does anybody have any other questions or anything they want to see?
So I think our biggest challenge too is like setting up the query or the populations,
Right.
because I have providers and I have students. So if
Yeah.
I want to send a BCM out to my providers, just the providers themselves or instructors.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think with those, Johnny, one thing we could do is just do the upload list, right? You keep your providers in
Right.
and just do the bulk upload of folks.
Yeah, I mean,
This way.
if it's in Banner, like the thing is with the query, it's got to be in Banner for us to be able to create a query about it. So if you have a query of all the providers that you want, we could create a query of them. Again, if they're not going to change, it might be worthwhile just creating a population, like a manual population that you maintain as you go around or as you use it. But I think we did it before with the queries we created. Trying to remember what they were for the other ES. The other ES ones where we were creating it for instructors and students. So yeah, so these two, like this one and this one, they're pulling the same, like it's basically the instructors one is pulling the instructors for all the students, for all the courses that these students are in. So it's like as long as the data is in Banner, we can get to it. If that makes sense.
yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions about this?
Doesn't sound like it, my friend. We're really grateful for y'all's time.
Yes.
Thanks for taking the time to walk through this. And the documents that you sent to us are going to be very helpful.
Right. Oh, excellent. So some of the follow-up things. One thing I'll talk about is we are having some issues. There've been an ongoing issue where there's a scheduler that runs in the background, and that's what handles creating the queries and the populations and sending out the actual messages. And occasionally that seems to just stop working. We have a process where it restarts every night, but if possible, you might say, I want this to send out now, and it won't work. So we'll have to wait until overnight for it to work. Another problem that we're having is some of the recurring ones, it looks like they are like something's getting broken in it. So where it sends like maybe the first one or two, and then all of a sudden it stops sending them. And we haven't figured out what it is yet. One of the things we found some suggestions through the Illusion site to try to mitigate this. And one of them is the permissions that you get into communication management. You have, for some reason, you have to have like the middle level in order for it to keep creating the recurring emails. And we're not sure why, but that seems to be coming up. And then the one thing is, which is one reason why I mentioned it, is if you have a population, they say you want to make sure your population always has at least one person in it. So with that one, it might be worth adding a username to each population manually to ensure that there's one person in it every time. Again, we're not sure, but we think when there's zero in it, it looks like it's not going to send a message because there's nothing to send. But that might end up then breaking it from setting up the next message. So that's one of the pieces that we have to. We're trying to figure it out, and apparently so is Illusion. So the last thing that I was going to talk about was, I think I opened it. Let me make sure I did. Linda sent me this document, which I will show you once I remember it. Nope, once I open it. So this is a document that Lori created for I think your group. just talking about some of the different data that
Lori
you can
created, yeah, Lori, yeah, Jay, I'm sorry to interrupt. Lori created this for the accounts receivable group.
Right.
And it
Okay,
was
yeah.
something to, yeah, something that for everyone in that office, that they knew what the variables were, the description, what the clauses were, when to use them, when they weren't. So it was a great way to see what was created for your area. And I thought this was a really good template. Catherine, I don't know if you're still here. I know you had another meeting, but actually, Joni, I know you work with Catherine. This is a great way to share with everyone all the different data fields, parameters, and variables that you use for certain messages. So that way you have a running record. And, you know, when people come and go, or certain times a year that you want to send out certain messages, you know exactly what to include in those messages. So
Right.
I wanted to share this with you because I thought it'd be a very valuable thing.
Right. So yeah, so my plan
ahead,
was
Jay.
to create something
ahead.
like this that's more directly related to your group and the data that you would want. I think this might actually have been built for like population selection and letter generation, but the concept is still there of let you know what the, so like learning how to write SQL is one thing, but then you have to know where to actually look and get the data. So with this, I can show you what the important tables are and like what the basic ways you would expect to look at them. And once you start looking at the tables, you'll be able to see all the data you see on the front end. It's all there. It's just you might have different names. And but I'll try to put something together with the more common tables that you guys, that your team would be interested in, and then you can work from there and use it as you feel, as you like. All right. So that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I guess that's it, right? Sorry, I had to step away. Any last minute questions, or are we good for right now?
No, I think we're good. Will we be notified when everything's fixed after all the little glitches or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I could say I have one of the other issues we have, which you see in here. See all these populations that have this pending execution. Well, that's been pending execution for the last 5 days, I think it is. So that we found it. This is one of the bugs that I think if the scheduler's down and you schedule a population, it won't execute, and then it won't ever execute. So we have a fix for it, but it's got to be a direct change to the database. But we are in the process of creating a job that will go in and fix these overnight to make sure that you can always redo them. I don't believe it affects, actually, maybe that's the problem now that I think about it. But I don't think it affects the recurring jobs, but it might, because I literally just thought that maybe that's whatever's happening here is happening in the background there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to check on that, Jay.
Right.
This goes to the collaboration between Fort Collins and Pueblo and then Banner, since you're sharing this and you use Banner differently than Fort Collins does. So that's what they're currently working on to try to adjust. And then Lucy and they're working with them directly also.
Right.
So we just wanted you to be aware of it for right now.
great, thank you.
Right.
All right. Jay, anything else?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.